down to Biscayne.
Yikes. 5 on the floor, ride for my dogs. Where here's the thing, you can check the score. Hustle hard, couple scars, wearing bubble frogs. Just like Butler said, you in trouble, y'all. Kept the floor playing, got it all band. Y'all seen the block, stop with one hand. And Pat we trust, inspired, have the guts. We're here to bring the heat, y'all can hang it up.
Welcome to 5 on the Floor, a daily insider show on the Miami Heat and the NBA, featuring Ethan Skolnick, Greg Sylvander, and Alex Toledo, plus others from the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
Welcome back to the latest episode of 5 on the Floor Live. I am your host, Greg Sylvander. We come to you directly after the Miami Heat's home victory over the Milwaukee Bucks, a 2-game home set against the same team. We never like how those turn out, but this time it turned out okay for Miami. They won 111-95. This was an afternoon matinee affair at the to be named later Miami Arena, the arena by the Bay. Today's, whenever you're coming to us, floor plan with me, I have from Miami Heat Beat basketball expert, coach extraordinaire, Frankie Garcia. Follow him at Frankie G _. I'm following that from the Twitter handle that he has posted here. Dude is just a wealth of knowledge over at Miami Heat Beat. Happy to have you on the program. With me as well is Justin Reynolds, who you guys know from Twitter Spaces, Heat Twitter Spaces in particular. He also is going to be mixing in and coming on the show more than ever. So we're excited to have you on your, what I believe to be your maiden 5 on the Floor voyage. So welcome aboard for that. And then a name and a face and a voice you know and love, Timothy Bain, often on our pregame show, is joining us for the postgame show for this one. So we do have enough. And again, as I said, I'm Greg Sylvander. We're going to touch all the aspects of this Heat win over the Milwaukee Bucks because I think it's significant for a number of reasons. I also think it's significant when we look ahead to the schedule. I want to talk about what Gabe did, what Depot did. There's lots to unpack here. But before we do, I want to start off by shouting out a sponsor of this program, this post-game program in particular, and she may even be in the comments, and that is Lynette. You want to go to A Aggressive Insurance. That is by Lynette, an insurance broker agency that's been servicing South Florida for over 15 years. They offer auto, homeowners, condo, life insurance, retirement programs, free notary service to every single client. They represent the leading insurance carriers in South Florida. So if you have a bad driving record, no problem. No driver refused. Free phone quotes. Go to the website, insurancebylynette.com. That's with 2 N's and 2 T's. Listen now, insurancebylynette.com. She's on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, probably in these comments, but definitely check out her website, A Aggressive Insurance, 954-581-8800, 954-581-8800. All right. I blitzed through that because I'm excited, y'all. The season appears as if it could be potentially, and I know I'm a hope trafficker, turning around a little bit. I mean, I'm gonna name a few things and then I'm gonna let y'all talk. The Heat are now 8-3 in their last 11. I'm pretty sure. They just beat a Bucks team who beating any team twice is not easy. And I know that Giannis wasn't out there. And there's just subtle things, I think, particularly with some guys that we wanted to see play better, that are playing better. I'd love to go around the room, get initial reactions from everybody. Because it is your maiden voyage, Justin, I'll start with you. Just initial reactions to this Heat Bucks game in particular, your biggest takeaway, and then we will kick it over to Frankie and kind of pick his brain on today's game.
It's about damn time. It feels good to get a W knowing that you're supposed to get one. You know what I mean? Like, those trap games have always been the ones that, like, scare me the most. Like, when I see Giannis isn't playing, I'm like, oh, hell, here we go again. It's not going to be good. And it happened twice, and they pulled it off twice. Ladies and gentlemen, Victor Oladipo is back. I've been saying this since, I guess, when he came back. I was like, you know what? There might be a point in time where you might need to put Tyler on the bench. But nah, I mean, you know, I wanted to start Depot, but we might even get that if Kyle Lowry's no longer wearing that Heat jersey no more. Vic looks amazing. I can't stop talking about him. Gabe Vincent, I tip my hat. I was talking a whole bunch of crap about him a few days ago when he shot a shot. It was actually against the Bucks just recently. He shot this horrible shot from three-pointer, and it was just in the first half. And ever since he missed that shot, the man's been on a rampage. So I guess, you know what? It's my luck. But yeah, I'm happy with what they're doing right now, man. The season is definitely turning around for sure. I mean, there's no other way to put it for me. I think, yes, if you make a little move, whatever, fine. But right now, I like the way it's trending.
Frankie, what did you see today that you liked? I know that there's some obvious stuff that we're going to get to. We're going to deep dive on Gabe. We're going to talk a little Oladipo in depth, but feel free to mention them. But just interested your perspective on what you really took away from today.
This looked like some throwback Heat defense all season long. We've talked about them being inconsistent, but it's really been, partially due to the injuries, of course, but they haven't had an identity. They were average, horrible offensively and pretty average to below average defensively, depending on if, Justin mentioned the trap games, depending on their opponent, really. Like if they played a good team, they brought the energy. If they're playing the Thunder on a Tuesday night, they're like, let's see what happens. Let's let them play their game. Today, they made them really uncomfortable. They contested shots. They mixed up the defense, going from man to zone a lot. Not letting Drew Holiday get any rhythm, any chemistry with his teammates. They did a great job defensively, just harassing them, forcing turnovers, getting out in transition, getting deflections, just being disruptors. And that started with Gabe and Vic at the top of the zone. Jamal Cain brought a lot of energy. Hamish, as Tiffany Meeks from Heapy likes to call Highsmith, excuse me. It was just great to see. And my favorite part about it, Jimmy did not have to check in that fourth quarter. They were able to close that game. Even when Milwaukee went on a run, they got to close it out with him and sitting on the bench and let him get some much needed extra rest.
Agreed. We love to see Jimmy get rest. I think a lot of what we're seeing with Kyle is likely maintenance. And Gabe Vincent has stepped up at the perfect time. Timmy, obviously, I want to pick your brain on what you love from this game, from an angle maybe that nobody's mentioned yet. But then let's start leaning into the guy that kind of stole the show today, and that's Gabe Vincent, and talk a little bit about what he did today. This is 2 back-to-back games that he's shown up in a big way. So your Gabe Vincent thoughts and then your overall thoughts on the game before we pivot to another topic.
Well, definitely the small things, Highsmith, Kane, Orlando Robinson, I don't know if Devin has been that bad that we forgot what a capable backup center looks like.
Right.
But Robinson just doesn't set moving screens. He lays the ball, and when he can dunk it, he makes sure gets the layup. Like he makes sure finishes like when Brook Lopez fell. Instead of wasting time and getting the dunk when maybe he could get fouled, he just laid the ball in. And I don't know if it's they drilled it into him. So remember when Bam was coming up on the white side, and he was like, "I'm not gonna do too much." Like I know Robinson is like looking at what Devin is doing wrong and saying, "I'm just gonna stay with him again." But I love that. We used to lose so many minutes when Devin was a backup, and we just no longer that doesn't happen. Like I no longer have a heart attack when Bam goes to the bench, you know. And like I said earlier, so the Heat are 12-5 in the last 17 games.
That's huge.
And I think it's around the time Robinson got signed when we dropped Drew Smith, who's now on that. It's just the early in the season we were saying there were too many holes. There was it was not enough threes. There was no defense on the point of attack. And now the holes are slowly starting to be plugged up. You have the backup center minutes are being held together. Bam is now on another level. Gabe is now healthy and scoring. He scored 55 points in the last 2 games. 2 games, you know. I'm just really excited we made it to January 15th, guys. We've made it to January 15th. 4 games over 500. Tomorrow is the day that Depot, who can be traded, and he won't because that man is hoping. But Deadman is not eligible to be packaged with Duncan Robinson and some picks to get some help tomorrow is the day, and we're about 2 weeks away from the deadline. We've made it, guys. Like I won't lie to you. I literally was in around Thanksgiving saying, I don't think the Heat are gonna make it. I don't think this team, and I think Jimmy might ask for a trade, but I might sit out. Like I honestly there were some dark days. I'm sitting there on a Saturday afternoon enjoying a Heat win. I did not see this happen. It's a new year, it's a new day. But just back to Depot, man. As you know, me and Ethan covered Depot here at training camp. And all the trainers, all the players were saying this was it. Like Depot was it. This is the player that Spo told us at Bahama was coming. You know, I think it was the third quarter where Depot simple play, just a slight hesitation of a pick and roll mid-range jumper. Who else in this team is really doing that? Like who else other than the Jimmy the hero? Like it just. And I think it was you, Greg, or maybe Ethan, who said early in the season we just needed one more capable guy who wasn't a specialist. They just needed one more player who could do something else other than defend, rebound, and shoot threes. And Depot said, so now you could add the Depot to the hero, to the bomb, to the Jimmy, and sometimes Larry. Now you have that player. You could now trade a Duncan and a Deadman for another capable player or two. So I'm very excited because, like I said, I didn't expect to make it to January 50. But Gabe, man, we know Gabe is one of Baum's best friends in the team. And so we could see how he feeds him. Like even that alley that didn't go down with Depot throw, like Gabe, these guys are feeding Baum. And, shout out to Truly, this is basically Team Nigeria right now, And I saw a tweet from Gad. It's amazing how Gabe, Depot, and Baum discombobulates the offense. Like Drew Holiday is a very smart player, but that man had 3 turnovers in a row. That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. Drew Holiday doesn't turn over the ball 3 times in a row. He won a ring from doing that to the Suns. That just doesn't happen. So man, I'm happy to see Gabe get these reps. He's winning. So if Larry needs to rest some more, give him the rest. Hell, give him all the time off till the deadline. Gabe is my point guard. I'm a big Chalmers fan, and I could see Gabe being even a better version. Don't kill me, Rio, but like a better version, a better fit, with this team.
Yeah, no, I feel you, and we're not going to go down that road because that's a whole show in itself, as well as all the trade speculation stuff. I think probably, and Ethan summed it up from the 5 Reasons Sports account via tweet. Probably the most logical thing here is Lowry actually remains a starter, but you just know you can count on Gabe more and more, and there can be a natural transition point there. I don't think that it's going to be necessarily this dramatic thing that takes place that everyone else is speaking about. Before we talk about the rest of this game, I want to shout out another sponsor of the 5 Reasons Sports Network, and that's ODM Performance Solutions. Team building is hard. Just ask the Miami Heat. It's been hard this year. ODM Performance Solutions can help you build a winning team and keep it together. They're looking to fill important roles at your company. ODM Performance Solutions can help you find C-suite level leadership, sales rainmakers, plus management and operational support staff. To find out more, you got to check out odmpsi.com or give them a call at 954-434-0634. Again, that's ODM Performance Solutions, odmpsi.com, or give them a call at 954-434-0634. And my ODM performance solution of the night, the solution of the night was the Heat finished in the game scoring 123.6 points per 100 possessions. That's in the 82nd percentile, 105.8 in the half court. That's better than usual for them. They shot 14 of 20 from close range, 20 of 45 from mid-range, and 11 of 12 from 3. These are stats from Alex via our off-the-floor feed. And they also out-rebounded the Bucks by 12. So those are all recipes. You're getting to the rim. You're converting at a relatively good clip. The offense is remaining efficient, and you are out-rebounding your opponent. So that is the performance solution of the game. Thank you, Alex, for the statistics. Subscribe to Off the Floor if you don't. We're definitely ramping up our coverage there as well. So as we kind of peruse around this game, additionally, Frankie, Victor Oladipo, dog, like this guy is every day he looks a little bit better. He looks a little bouncier. He looks like he's getting a little bit more of that intuitive all-star stuff going on. You've been a big Depot supporter since day one, if I recall correctly. I do try 100%. To keep tabs of these things. Just, I guess, without going crazy, because I know Oladipo's your boy, What should Heat fans expect from Victor Oladipo if he stays healthy? Like, is this only going to get better? Do you think that there's going to be kind of a cap on how good he can get just because of the injury stuff that piles up over the years? So it's inherent in what he's got going on. I'm interested to pick your brain on Oladipo specifically because to me, he may be the biggest X factor that we kind of all thought was not going to end up helping this team that may actually be the total game changer. So talk Oladipo for a second.
Well, I just want to give him a shout out for having that rough start first and not letting it take over the rest of the game. He had real sloppy with the ball to start, and he's been kind of loose with it for the season. That's probably one of our biggest critiques if you have any of him, just the finishing issues and the sloppy handling of the ball. But defensively, like he looks like Victor Oladipo of old, and that's been something that even last year when he was having his struggles, he could bring that. But he looks even better. He looks smoother defensively. He looks more like himself, just comfortable, being able to be slippery, go over screens, not get screened, force the offensive player into help, get deflections and steals, and create easy opportunities for Miami. And then offensively, he's one of the few Heat players that can get to the basket. And that's a big deal because even with his finishing issues, he creates offensive rebound opportunities. And we saw Bam, Tim mentioned one of the plays where he missed a floater and Bam got the easy putback. And that just creates attention because he's a good passer too. He's one of the best passers on the team. I don't think that's debatable. He can find Bam in the roll, find him, hit him in the pocket, can hit the weak side pass if the defense overcommits. And as like I a lot of people have been commenting, shout out to Dos Minutos, about his finishing issues this season. I think he was like at 41% around the rim as of last game. But he's gonna get better. That he's a better finisher than that. Some of that is just me and Siobhan Beslow from Heat Beat have been talking about his adjustment to finishing. Like when your athleticism isn't what it used to be, and some of those dunks that he used to get are going to be layups now or floaters, and he has to learn how much he can jump and the different angles and stuff in game speed, and that's going to get better over time. It's not going to be day one. Like we saw Dwayne have to adjust to his body a little bit too as the years went by. I think Vic's got a little bit more athleticism there left in the tank, and I'm excited to see. I hope he sticks around because I think he's the perfect like two-way guard for Bam and Jimmy too.
Agreed. And he's looking better and better next to Tyler. So that has all been really positive. I just continue to be absolutely floored by how well he's fit in, how quickly he's been able to just kind of look like there's just a part of a game where you kind of look stiff initially when you come back from injury. I can't really articulate it in any other way. And then eventually kind of that goes away and you start moving and flowing the way that normal players do. And I thought that Oladipo was going to go through that stiff period, and he hasn't. Like he just hit the ground running. So I think that's huge. Taking care of the home floors, I think something that we need to acknowledge before we kind of wrap and get closing thoughts from everybody. I want to make sure everyone gets equal opportunity to wax poetic here over this homestand. They obviously have had a great 17-game stretch. Timmy, what did you say it was? Or Justin, did you have it? One of the
12 and 5.
12 and 5 in their last 17. Listen, folks, if that winning percentage, I'm not doing the math quickly off the top of my head, but I bet you that would lead the East. So now they take care of business at home. I was distraught when they were down 5 with 49 seconds to go against OKC. I'm not going to lie. And then they close out and win both of these games against Milwaukee. That is huge for this team. They needed these games. They are 4 games above 500. They are within striking distance of getting out of the play-in. These are all good things. This is trending in a direction that literally, I would say maybe a week ago, I felt like was maybe going the opposite way. So all of that super positive. As we look ahead to the road trip, they have a 3-game set that takes them to next Friday. But before we do, calling out one last sponsor, and that's Prize Picks, the official daily fantasy sponsor of 5 Reasons Sports Network and 5 on the Floor. So this is daily fantasy made easy. I play it every single day. You choose your favorite players, you choose your favorite sports, you choose over under on all the stats that you know and love. Use the code 5 to get your initial deposit matched up to $100. Now this is a cool thing. Like you can mix and match sports, you can stack players, you can have up to 6 on one card and do a flex play with 6 players. You can do 2 players, 3 players if you don't want to risk as many and try to get some right. They do a lot of cool promos throughout the week. Use the code 5 to get your initial deposit matched up to $100, FIVE. That's prizepicks.com. If you want to use it on desktop, they have a great app as well wherever you download apps. So check out Prize Picks. Use the code 5 to get that deposit matched. I went over on Bam Adebayo points. It was at 21.5. And did I hit? I didn't hit. Wah, wah.
You made a run in the fourth for it.
It was 20. Oh, every time I call that out, I end up not hitting it. I probably should stop doing that. So look ahead to the trip. I'll start with you, Justin. So they go to, I guess, let's look at it this way. Bear with me as I pull up the schedule here, because it may make a little more sense if I provide context. They've won 3 straight. They go at Atlanta, at New Orleans, and at Dallas. They have a day of rest in between each before they come back to Miami for Sunday and against New Orleans, and then a date with Boston. So just this 3-game trip, Atlanta, New Orleans, Dallas. Are you hoping for a what? 2-1 trip?
That's 3 straight, baby.
Oh, okay. Man. I like cocky Heat fan back in the building.
Anybody scared of no Hawks and Pelicans without Zion and Mavericks? Come on. The thing about the Mavericks, man, is don't get it twisted. He's a great player. He's a phenomenal player. But for some reason, it's like no matter what, they're still in tight games. The man scored like what was it? He scored the other day, 60, 15, and 18, and won by like 3 points. Like, ain't nobody worried about it. I'm sorry, I'm not worried about it. That's 3 straight.
I love it. And one of them's on a holiday, Martin Luther King Day is.
Do we ever play good on those games?
January 16th. Generally, no. We're usually in Atlanta. That's just how the schedule shakes out. And so that'll be an interesting one to watch. Timothy, your thoughts on the 3-game trip at Atlanta, at New Orleans, at Dallas, and just overall, like your vibe about the team, as we obviously will have more trade trips available to us this week, as well as a few other things. So I'm just interested to pick
in a couple hours. It's no longer days, Greg. It's in a couple hours.
Counting it down.
Edmund can be gone off this team in a mere hours. I think the Hawks game was a win. I think Trey, if he's not back, he will be back. We always play the Mavericks close, always, no matter if Luka goes Super Saiyan, it's always a close game. Nola doesn't have Zion or BI. I am very afraid for BI, actually, because BI is played maybe 3 games for the season. I'm actually looking at the next 5 games, maybe a 4-1, 3-2 at worst. At worst, just because I think Jimmy hurt his ankle in the Portis in the first quarter, so I don't know. This Heat team goes. They might decide to give Jimmy the rest on Monday, and that might throw off the team. But if everyone plays, 4-1 at worst. And I feel good. Like I said, literally last week I said, man, the Heat would have to go play in the play-in and stress me out, grow more gray hairs. But I feel pretty good about this team. That everyone seems to know their role. I'm sad to say Duncan's injury kind of cleared up a lot of minutes. Shoes didn't, when Shoes was struggling, he didn't have the leeway to struggle. Like if he missed 3 shots, pull him for Duncan. He's the only shooter, he's the only PR shooter in the rotation now. So maybe Duncan's injury, which will take him right until I think a week before the deadline.
Yeah.
Solidifies him. We know Debo and Hero can play together, which is the biggest issue. They can now play together. So Julie, and even though Orlando Robinson is fine right now, we don't want to go up against the top 3 with him as our backup center. Like he's good for now, but maybe you use Deadman's contract along with Duncan to get maybe a Terrence Ross and a Bamba. Or maybe you go to the Pistons who are gonna maybe tank because Cade is out. Maybe you get a Nerlens Noel and an Alec Burks and save some money in the Bucks. Because because both of those guys.
I have some names that I received today while watching the game that I'm going to close with. Frankie, though, tell me the state of this Heat team for you. Also, looking ahead to this 3-game road trip, how you feeling about it? I really think that it's 3 winnable games. I don't see anything there that scares me to death. I know that there's factors in every game. CJ McCollum's been playing great. Luka is Luka, but who knows who plays and who doesn't? I'm feeling good about it. How do you feel?
I feel good. The Heat have definitely looked like their mindsets changed. They're finding their rhythm and their identity. So I feel like they're all definitely winnable games. But it's a big test for them. Like you said, they're shorthand. Two of those teams are probably going to be or likely to be shorthanded. So just because they won these 2 shorthanded games and looked better doing it doesn't mean that with the way this season's gone doesn't mean that they'll do it going forward. But this is their test. This is their opportunity. Take care of business, win some crucial road games to get some separation. You want to get out of that play-in spot. As of right now, you're still in the 7th spot, and you're close enough where a week of falling behind, you can fall right back in there and get stuck. And you want all these guys like Gabe and Max that are playing for contracts for next year. It's really vital that they keep it going. It's not a couple games here and there and then a tough stretch. Gabe's finally found some rhythm these last 2 games, and but we got to see him do it against teams that are not Milwaukee. And I'm excited. I think these are great tests because they all throw something kind of different. New Orleans is going to throw a lot of wings at them, and Dallas they've struggled against Dallas at times. The guys have mentioned that those are always close games, so they have a lot of bodies to throw at Jimmy and Bam. True. and Luka's always tough, but I think this is easily at no worse than 2-1. If they get 3-0, that's a huge road trip win.
Agreed. Eric Spoelstra and Gabe Vincent after the game. This is post-game comments fed to me by Alex Toledo. Thank you for covering the game on site. He has the emotional stability. This is Eric Spoelstra referring to Gabe Vincent. He has the emotional stability to handle different roles, and not everybody in the league can accept. Those kind of guys are invaluable to this league. So again, I love to hear the reinforcement from the coach, but in a night like tonight, that's what we were going to get. Manny, flash up a few comments. Let's go through those before we close. Want to make sure we get any questions. Super chats come to the top, but we'll try to answer questions or expand upon what you have to say. First one comes from Van Lee. Miami can beat Philly, Brooklyn, and Milwaukee in early rounds. Do not want to see Cleveland at all. I'm the opposite. I would rather play the team that's not tested fully, and I would put Cleveland as a team that I would rather face than Milwaukee, Boston, and probably Brooklyn also. Any of you guys disagree?
I mean, I was just going to say, I'm not scared of any team in the East. I might be crazy. It might sound, whatever, but no team right now is running away with anything. I think one of the things they were talking about on ABC for just changed, but it was like saying, is there a clear-cut favorite in the East? And the answer is no. You know what I mean? Miami hasn't been healthy, and they're starting to get their groove, whatever. Look at what Boston did last year, right? They were mid last year until in the middle.
Now.
Around right now is when they started percolating. And I always say it's when you hit that stride at the right time to get right before the playoffs start or right before you get the trade deadline, that's really what you want to do. So right now, I think Miami's ahead of schedule. I like their odds. Honestly, I don't think any of those teams, they don't scare me one bit. Mm-mm.
Love it. Let's get another question. This comes from Tiff L. I don't care if Gabe starts. It's more important that he finishes and gets more minutes than Lowry. I think that the minutes could be about even, but frankly, I think that neither of them will close. I think the closing lineup backcourt is likely going to be Victor Oladipo and Tyler Hero. Anyone disagree with that?
No, Vic's kind of earned it. He's been healthy and playing 12 minutes in the fourth quarter, the last stretch of games. He's deserved it.
Yeah. Lynette in the comments, that's one of our great sponsors. With a few tweaks, we can beat anyone. I agree with that as well. It's never as bad as we say it is, and it's probably never as good as we say it is either. Van Lee with another one. Greg, are the Heat execs monitoring the Lillard situation? The contracts seem to match. That's a whale that fits the Heat perfectly. Every time I ask about Dame Lillard, I'm told that basically that Miami would not necessarily. Portland is not willing to trade Dame unless they got the kind of Godfather offer that everyone said, well, how could you ever turn that down? And I don't know that Miami can in good conscience say that they have that offer without offering something that they don't want to give away. So that's my story on that one. I don't think Dame's getting dealt from Portland. I could see them shuffle the deck in different ways, but the Dame to Portland thing, and if he does get traded, I expect him to remain on the West Coast. I don't know why. I just do. One more and we get out of here. If Heat trade for D'Lo, this comes from Superk21. If Heat trade for D'Angelo Russell, I don't think they'll retain his contract for the 2023 season. He's making $30 million deep in the playoffs. I'd rather have a proven veteran versus a rising star. Depends on how well he plays, right?
Yeah.
The one thing is, if he's expiring and you were to let him walk, you would have a lot more flexibility with Tyler's capping crease going up to retain certain guys, maybe spend your full mid-level exception, and you'd have to weigh whether is that better than retaining D'Angelo Russell. So I think that those are some of the decisions that they'll make. What do you guys think? Is Russell the type of acquisition? We'll go around and then close. Frankie, I'll start with you and finish with Timmy. Is D'Angelo Russell the type of acquisition that you would want around in Miami long term, provided that he bought into what we all know to be Miami Heat basketball?
That is the biggest if, and I think that I don't see it. I don't see D'Angelo. D'Angelo's always cared about the style. He's more of a style than substance kind of guy. Since college, really, he looks good. He looks like the kind of player, but I think he's not a Heat fit guy. He's fun to watch on highlights, but like game to game, like I don't think he's the kind of guy they need. He's not a good enough shooter. He's a bigger guard than Lowry, obviously, but he's not a great defender. He doesn't do the dirty work. He's not going to fit in to what the Heat really want or need. I think if you're making a move like off Lowry, because Lowry would probably have to be the deal to move, I think you're better off getting some depth pieces or moving it for like him and some picks for like Bogdanovich from Detroit and a Burks or Noel. Like
absolutely
fill out some. You have too many holes to have D'Lo fill all those holes.
I tend to agree with you. I think that there could be some 3-team deal stuff that goes on. I mentioned that I was going to drop a little bit of trade nuggets. It's nothing groundbreaking. Please, people, relax. But the names around the league I consistently hear connected to Miami, there's really only two in the East, and that's Detroit and Charlotte. And I don't know what they're going to get from those teams, what they're interested in, and what those teams are interested in receiving back. But those are the two Eastern Conference teams I continually hear as trade deadline scuttle becomes more and more prevalent.
Send Duncan home. Send Duncan home.
That's funny. And in the West Coast, it gets a little more interesting because I've heard Dallas. Although Dallas has played better recently, so who knows with that situation. But that's a team that continues to be brought up. But I would also watch the Clippers, the Jazz, and I think another team is San Antonio, just because they're kind of a dumping ground for salaries. So they're inevitably going to be involved in some of these talks. But the Clippers and Utah were teams that I were explicitly told are going to be very, very active, and that Miami likes guys on those respective teams. And the Jay Crowder situation, Miami is monitoring, but just so you all know, I kind of feel like they've arrived at a point where if he gets
muted yourself, Greg.
I don't know where I muted myself, but Jay Crowder's a good buyout possibility, not as much trade.
Right. Yeah, Jay's not exciting for me right now. Like he's not the kind of guy they need more consistent shooting. Like Tim mentioned, I love the guys Tim mentioned from Detroit, like Burks Birch is one of the best shooters in the league this season. He brings
He's
up,
number 2 in 3-point percentage.
Yeah.
Number 2.
And when he joins us, he'll be number 20.
Yeah, that's true. Bogdanovich is 12th and he has a harder shot diet as the number 1 option for them with no Cunningham and Noel. Like, I love what Tim mentioned about the backup center. Like, I love Lando, but they can't afford to have him as their only backup 5 in the playoffs. Like, they need some more insurance there.
Agree. So we shall see. Eternal says, and Eternal is a big friend of the program. So if you're listening, you can't see this, but he says, no, Greg mentioned Orlando and Indiana. Orlando maybe becomes a mention at some point. Indiana is trying to win, and they're trying to get a playoff seed. They do not tank. They're like the Heat in that regard. So I would not expect them to start selling off.
So in the last 20 years, there are 2 teams who have the best like winning percentage. The Heat and the Pacers. Like, those teams just don't miss the playoffs.
They don't.
They don't miss the playoffs.
They don't. So I wouldn't expect Indiana to be one of those teams. But thank you all for joining us. Thank you to Frankie, Justin, Timmy for jumping on a Saturday afternoon. I know it's wonky timing with the Heat game being early, but we appreciate y'all joining us. If we didn't get to your comments, hit me up on Twitter, and I'll try to respond to everything that I can. We are brought to you by Aggressive Insurance as a post-game show, but 5 Reasons Sports Network also wants to shout out Prize Picks, ODM Performance Solutions, and all of the great sponsors. Check us out. We will have you covered on Monday for the Heat game, as well as probably an off-day pod in between. You'll see the regular faces back. Thank you to everyone. And Ethan doesn't close shows this way because he is unbiased, but I shall always close them with, let's go Heat.